Alright, so here's this amazing presentation that we have. So, firstly, I guess some crowd interaction. Why are you guys like interested in learning Photoshop? Just out of curiosity.
I used to use it a long time ago and I just lost touch with it.
I got you.
I think it's because it's a skill that everybody expects you to have nowadays.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I think it will be quite useful for me to actually learn a couple of basic things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just want extra skill too.
For sure. Yeah, it's really fun. So I'm glad you guys are getting into it. But what is it? You guys probably know, but it's like a graphics editor and you can use it for all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's part of the Adobe suite. And there's our man. So with the power of Photoshop, you can do stuff like this, like give Bud Peterson the head of Buzz. And probably some professional things as well. So, where do I start? Obviously, I'm going to help you guys out a little bit today, but there's a ton of tutorials online. Obviously, Linda has plenty of great stuff. There's classes and workshops, but this middle one, doing projects and making memes, I feel like is the #1 way you learn. Like the way I learned Photoshop was just, I would see a bunch of tutorials and be like, oh, I want to learn how to do that. That looks cool. So like doing little things here and there can really like boost you like exponentially, because you start picking up on things that you can apply to other projects and it just keeps going. So definitely.
Not to be like, you know, I feel like teachers like try to like not be like hip teacher person, but like legitimately like stuff like memes, like one-off things, like that thing where it's like, oh, let me just like put a like I don't know weird thing on this guy's face, post it to like Reddit, bam, like you know it. The fact that it's small, it's easy to do, it's like possibly crappy, but like it's fine that it's crappy. That's good because that just means that you get to do more work really fast.
Yep.
Find those excuses. What's up? You for Photoshop?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah, just log into a computer. If you get that, I'll put it on.
I guess I could like put it. Yeah, that.
I'll just put it here.
Cool. But yeah, basically we just started talking about how like the best way to learn is by doing different projects and stuff. And later we're gonna have you guys go through and actually do some Photoshop stuff. Okay. Alright, where to start? So now I'll go over like the workflow of creating a project, and then we'll get into actually making something in a few minutes. So it starts by photo compositing. So the link that I shared with you guys was basically the beginnings of that. We had 2 images, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna crop out Buzz from the first image and add him to the second image, and we're also gonna alter some colors and filters so that they fit together better. But yeah, so we got through the selecting your photos part, and then the part of the photo that we're gonna get is Buzz, and then we're gonna mesh them together by layering them. So we'll see that in action in a little bit.
By the way, the link again is bit.do/cm Photoshop.
Yeah. Cool. So once we get into the project that we're going to do in a few minutes, there's going to be a few really important tools that you use like in most Photoshop things. And these are the Marquee Tool, which is super useful. Obviously you can use it, as you can see, to make like squares and rectangles, but it's also good for selecting things that are like kind of chunky, I guess. So if you don't need exact edges, you can use that and just grab something really quickly. The Lasso Tool is cool because you can actually like basically draw the shape that you want to cut out. So for more precise things like how we're gonna get Buzz, he has like a humanoid body, so we need curves and stuff, so you can use this and just drag it around the figure you want to get. The quick select tool, this is good. Another good way to cut things out. This one basically finds like similar edges, and then it kind of like tries to draw a line around the shape that you're trying to get. Magic wand tool, this is honestly really good for getting rid of backgrounds and stuff, but you can use it to select like the quick selection tool as well. And then we have the pin and bevel tool, which uses very nice smooth curves for selection and cutting things out. But these all make more sense in a few minutes when we use them. So, coolest part about Photoshop, I think, is layers, because you can just layer things on top of each other. Like, even before you start taking parts out, you can just put a bunch of pictures on top of each other, as many as you want, and like combining them in different ways makes really cool stuff. But you have to plan it out as you go, which is really fun. So like here, this is like the layout of what we're about to do. So you can see here there's a picture of Bud, and he's just chilling, giving a talk. And then there's this Buzz head. And so just by layering, it looks like a completely different image. It looks like Buzz is giving a talk because we just use layers effectively, and we've used some of those tools that I showed you. So step one, getting images into it, you can come up to File. And the cool thing about Photoshop is you can open multiple things at once and getting both images, and then you open them up. Our goal is to get this image of Buzz on the beat, and so he needs to get over there. Usually Photoshop won't let you edit the original, just duplicate it real quick. And you can just like uncheck this if you want to, but it's the same thing. I right clicked it, and then I just said duplicate layer. And if you want to move it to the beach layer, all you have to, that's beach PNG, and then just lay it on there. Go ahead and click on the Buzz image and make sure that the Buzz layer on the side, like over here, so that it's selected, and then go more clear. And that's a good thing to do so that you remember like copy of something from years ago, and you're like, I can't tell what this image is. So it's good, like a good rule of thumb to just change the title of your image. And we see this little box around Buzz. Pull up. Now we're starting to Photoshop for real. So, but we don't want to warp Buzz out of proportion, or maybe we do, but not right now. So and then we're gonna go to one of these corners. You can go to any of the 4 corners and just press and hold Shift and then pull out. So now he's taller.
Unfortunately, note that in the like Shift does the other thing.
Oh really?
I know. It caught me off guard, and I hate.
Okay, so I guess you won't have to do this if you get the newest one, but
Wow,
before
yeah.
this, it kind of distorts them and makes them more grainy. So whenever you're finding images to get messed up. But yeah, now we have Buzz in here, and he's looking a little tall. Fits into the beach more. The first method I'll show you is here and then like cut him out. And I'm doing this by right clicking via cut. And so now he's on a new layer, and the old layer is gone. If you want to put it back together, you can just press Control Z and then hold Shift if image, because Marquee Tool isn't the best for that. So instead of that, and if you want to, you can go in between his antennas and like get those so that. But yeah. So it goes all the way around. Oh no. Yeah.
Actually, you can show them how to fix that stuff.
Does everybody have that done? Okay, cool. So, dang, that's not it. What is it to invert the selection?
Well, so click on select.
Shift Control I.
Oh, Shift Control I.
Yeah. So now if we press backspace. Cool. How is it coming? That's a good cut.
I try to get like a really close line and like maybe one of the curves on his legs. Then I just pull out, just select that whole thing, just get rid of it.
Yeah.
And then just go chunk by chunk until it's gone.
If
If you're having trouble, we can.
yeah, we can help you out.
Oh yeah,
There you go. Yep.
Awesome. Alright, so this one, but yeah, that's one way to do it. Obviously, taking your time, you can get better each background, and we're like, wow, we can show all our friends that we know Photoshop now. But there's other methods to cut him out, and we'll try some of those. So if you want to press Control Alt Z and then press Z so that we get the background back, so we can show off these other methods, that would be good. So now he's back in his box. So I want to show you guys the quick selection tool. And this is a pretty cool tool. I have it selected, it's the one under the Lasso tool. So for this one, you have to either decide if you want to select something with the plus one, and if you don't, with the minus one. And those are at the top of the screen. And this right here, this circle with the 30 under it, this is saying how big your like brush is basically. So now that it's at 30, you see this circle and it's this big. But if we wanted to select more, then we'd pull this size up. And then now the circle is bigger, so we can select more of them at once. So, with the plus brush selected, this one in the middle here, we can put this on buzz, and then it'll try to start like finding the parts of him that we want. So I just clicked directly like on his stinger, and you saw that it tried to select his leg. And now it got a little bit more of him, and I'm just clicking like on him to get more of it selected. So now we have his whole stinger and his right leg, but as we try to get more and more, we have to adjust the size of the brush because some parts are more fine. So I'm going to lower the size of this brush to 20, and then try to select his other leg. And what just happened is that it's selected both his leg and the ground in between them. So if you guys are having any issues where the brush is selecting more than what you want, you can switch it to the minus brush and then put it on the parts that you don't want so that they get unselected. So now I just have his leg and his stinger, and it's not perfect, it's cutting off a little bit of his leg along the edges, but it's much quicker than the other brush.
And the nice thing is you can touch this up with the Lasso tool if you want to.
Yeah, so you can mix and match different tools to get the cuts that you want. So now when we try to select his upper torso, we're probably going to run into more issues with it selecting things that we don't want. But just try to go slowly and click and add little parts. So overall this cut is pretty good. You can Control Z real quick to get stuff out of there that you don't want. With this brush, getting really thin stuff such as the stingers here is going to be a little bit difficult. So that's a situation where you would just switch to Lasso. But yeah, it's a lot.
You have to hold Control.
Gotcha. I actually haven't tried.
Is it Alt? I forget what that is. A Shift?
I'll try all of them.
No,
Okay,
so Alt
okay,
is minus. No, so not. It's Shift, I think. Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So now we're putting together both the Lasso tool and the quick selection tool.
You hold shifts to add it.
Yeah. So Shift to add, Alt to minus. So like imagine like you had a bit, like actually you can see here, right here, look where I'm pointing. That's like the stadium a bit. So like if you wanted to, you could hold Alt minus and then lasso that out.
Is there any way to adjust like the sensitivity of the quick select?
I think the size does it mostly. I know there's another one where it has like a tolerance slider.
Yeah.
I don't, like I forget. I think it's like the Magic Wand tool has that. Has the tolerance slider.
But,
Yeah.
so you can mix and match those. But yeah, so it works the same as the tool that we just showed off. If I wanted to get rid of the background, I could just Control Shift I and get rid of it. This one is a little closer, but you see like fine details kind of got messed up. But we can do whatever we want to get rid of them. Like how this part is sticking out, we could go ahead and deselect, which is Control D. And then if we wanted to, we could just use the eraser, select the layer, and get rid of this like that. And that's a fast way to get rid of stuff that you don't want there. But yeah, I like the selection that we did with with the lasso tool the best. So I think I'm gonna just do that again. So yeah. So everybody should have a copy of Buzz that's cut out in some way. After I get this.
And actually, having done this several times, a lot of it is going to be doing a rough outline, like doing a rough cut with a lasso tool, then going in with the eraser and just being like, all right, let me get rid of the details that I missed. Yeah, you have to select a layer.
Alright. So if everybody has like a copy of Buzz cut out. Yeah, awesome. Cool. So now we have him cut out, but his colors don't really match the vibe of the beach. So one thing that's really helpful in Photoshop is it's stuff that it gives you to adjust colors. So next we're gonna go up to the top with the Buzz layer selected, and we're gonna go to Image and then say Adjustment. And you'll see a whole bunch of stuff here. And let's start with let's start with color balance. So select that one. And the beach has some bluish vibes. I see a lot of blue, a lot of water, a lot of sky. So we can move this cyan bar over and try to make Buzz more blue like the beach. And you can already see just from that how he fits in more with the beach. And I just moved that more into the cyan side of things. But yeah, you can play with all kinds of stuff. You can play with the dark blue too and see how that looks. It's kind of weird, so we just move it back. You can get really crazy and just give him some colors that just don't match anything. But yeah. For now, I'll just stick with the cyan because we want him to look realistic. And that's just the midtones. If you wanted to play with the shadows of it, you could adjust those too and get weird. And you could also adjust highlights. So you can do all kinds of stuff. So that's color balance. So I'm just gonna leave him with this cyan tint because we didn't need to do a whole lot there. Next, going back into images, adjustments, we can mess with the brightness and contrast. So this is pretty important. The beach is kind of dark, so we don't really need to make him too much brighter. I actually made him a little bit darker. And then contrast, he actually looks better with lower contrast. So I turned contrast all the way down, and he's just out here. He fits more with like the evening tone of the beach. He's kind of darkened a little bit.
Honestly, there's not like a hard and fast rule where it's going to be like, yeah, if it's this color,
Yeah.
up the contrast. Like you're just going to have to like eyeball it a bunch.
Yeah.
And like honestly, if you want to like make several duplicates of a layer, just look at one of them, mess with it a bunch, then it'd be like, all right, let me try that again from the beginning.
Yeah.
Until
Until you find what you want. Yeah, that's one thing that I didn't do that I would recommend is once we got Buzz over here and we cut him out, you could just make like a new layer from there so that he's like raw basically. So there's no edits and you have like what you started with in case you mess up along the way and you're like, oh, I can't go all the way back to the beginning now. So to duplicate a layer, I'll just duplicate this one that we have. You right click on the layer and then you just say duplicate layer. And you can name it whatever you want. It's giving us Buzz copy and that works for our purposes. So we can do that. So now we have Buzz and Buzz copy. And if you turn one off, then you can still see the other one. But yeah, there we go. I'd encourage y'all to just take a moment to play with like a few of the different things in adjustments, because there's all kind of cool stuff you can play with. You can like invert your colors and make it look really weird. You can posterize, which is like a whole lot going on, a whole lot of image manipulation stuff. But yeah, that's the fun thing about Photoshop, is that there's a lot of different things you can do with it, and just playing with stuff that you don't usually do can like help you come up with new ideas for edits that you want to make. So always try new things with it. But I'm gonna make him look normal again because that's a lot. Alright, so the last thing I'm gonna show y'all, which is like I feel like my favorite feature of Photoshop, is just the filters, basically. Not filters, but like I don't even know what would you call these?
I mean, it's just it's the layer. I don't know. I mean, basically, it's how it mathematically adds layers together, right? I mean,
Blend modes.
Yeah, the
or
blend mode.
something.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah, so above the layers you can see this drop down, and it's for blend modes, and this is really cool. Like you can just press down and go through them, but it just shows different ways that Buzz could appear on this image, and they have some really crazy stuff. It's hard to see with just these two images, but with some combinations you can just make all kinds of like interesting images. But yeah, it basically controls how these two images blend together.
So if you wanted Buzz to be a ghost, you could
Yeah.
totally do that.
You can do that. But yeah, to see it more detailed, you could place Buzz over the tree and then start doing it, and then you'll probably see like some more crazy stuff. So he kind of like blends into it, and in some parts the tree is like going through him, so you can mess around with that as you like, and it's a good time. So yeah, now that you know how to get images in here and start messing with them, you could add whatever you want to this scene, or like make a new scene with a new background. But yeah, those are some basics for you. If anybody has any questions, let me know.